D-d-d-d-duffman cannot die. Only the actors who portray him. Oh, yeah. That probably blew out my mic.
Wake up, everybody. Today is Thursday, December 3rd, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Palashi, joined by my co-host, Jason Wright, and special guest, Sean Mybers. If you decide you like us and want to up your dose, you can find us at neverfreetoplay.com, patreon.com/neverfreetoplay, or on all the other social media where we are Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm well. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So I have a question for you guys. Do you feel like Thanksgiving leftovers don't last as long as they used to? I feel like up to this point, when I was a child, I was still eating Thanksgiving leftovers.
Let's see.
That's a really good question.
You showed us your spread, and I thought you guys had a lot of food, and it's just the two of you, right?
Yeah, I mean,
make him feel bad.
I did have a shipmate where his child's in the hospital, so we took him and his family dinner.
You were too generous. There you go.
A little bit to the dog. So yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I need to be more of a Scrooge around Thanksgiving.
There you go.
That makes sense.
We haven't personally hosted in a long time where we had all the food at the house, and obviously we'd send plates home with people, but then you get to keep it all. So this year we made a handful of sides and some desserts, and we took it all with us. But at that point, there's only like half of everything left. So yeah.
Well,
I agree though. I feel like it's less.
We're the only kids that live in town on both sides of the family. Mm-hmm. So we'll go to my parents' house for Thanksgiving and get half the leftovers. And then we'll go to Lauren's family's house and get half the leftovers. So we're normally set for the month of December.
Nice.
Very nice. This year's a little different because we weren't home.
Next year, come to your house for Thanksgiving.
Yes, please. Then I won't have to eat turkey. I like turkey. Don't get me wrong.
It can be a lie.
I don't like it that much.
You got it. So I got a whole different way that I make turkey than your normal way, and it comes out like perfect. I've been told for Thanksgiving that the turkey's always there, but it's never the star of the meal. No, my turkey is the star of the meal.
And if you want to hear that recipe, you have to join the Patreon.
That's a $2 tier.
I'll post my recipe on Patreon, by which I'll link you to the tasty video that I used to make my turkey.
Stop giving away your secret.
Never Free to Play. Brought to you by Tasty.
There you go.
Beginning of a unique partnership.
I love it.
Give a little sponsorship. Get us some ads. People love ads.
They do.
Yeah, no, totally.
I love them. I don't skip them ever.
Okay, let's get into some housekeeping. I want to hear about that recipe, maybe offline. Maybe we'll edit it at the end because I am curious. But for now, I need you, audience members out there, to go like, sub, follow. Do it on YouTube. Do it on the podcast services. Follow us on Twitter. We are at Never Free to Play. No shout outs this week. We should have done housekeeping. I guess we didn't really anticipate taking a week off, and then we just kind of did for Thanksgiving. Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to notice.
No.
I 100% noticed.
Well, you're the only one.
Shut up, tasty boy.
Maybe Josh, maybe Kane will send me an angry text. He'll be like, I noticed. I listen every week. We'll see.
It's been a very long week without my Never Free to Play to listen to for 2 hours.
We apologize.
I feel rusty.
We're just going to grease the wheels, Karch. That's because also you didn't get any coffee before we started.
I got coffee right here.
Oh, okay. I stand corrected. No corrections, so let's roll right into news because we do have a very full episode.
Let's get into some news. At the top of the docket, we have the Xbox Series, both the X and the S, are emulation devices. And I didn't look at anything specific except for the headline, but basically it seemed pretty simple. And Sean's got a little more info for us, but it seemed like you could do some fairly advanced stuff, even up to PS2 and GameCube.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Apparently, the Xbox Series X and S are better at backwards compatibility than the PlayStation games when it comes to PlayStation games themselves.
That's hilarious.
That's pretty incredible. I didn't even think about that.
You're able to run those consoles in their developer mode, and I guess you can do that even if you just have one of the regular ones you bought. and that allows you to, I forget exactly what it is, but you can then install certain basically you're running in a simple version of Windows, and you can then download certain programs such as various emulators, and therefore play some classic games on your Xbox.
Sounds awesome. I mean, like, honestly, no joke, this sways my opinion, not completely, obviously, but a little bit. Like, if such a thing is that easy on this device, and I just love cracking stuff and putting old consoles where they don't belong on other devices, but, you know, it makes me want one just a little bit more. I would be worried that they would patch it out, though. Like, oh, you can't have dev mode anymore, and then boom, it's gone.
Yeah, that's what I'm waiting to see, because I mean, there's this whole aspect of like, oh, like Microsoft won't be allowed to get away with that, but it's like, well, they're not really. It's no different than people downloading a patch onto or an emulator onto Windows, as far as I can tell. So,
and also this was available on the previous gen as well. Like the Xbox One had a developer mode. It was just a little harder to get to, is what my understanding is.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so Sean, you should check that out. Look into it, because there is a developer mode. I don't know about the emulator part. I think I read you could do some simple emulators on it, but you should check into it, because it didn't look like it was that hard to get into. It's just not as easy as the newer one.
That's what I need, is to be able to play the original Harvest Moon on my Xbox One.
Yeah.
I bet you could do it for real.
I mean, I can play it on my Windows phone. So
yeah. Yep. All right, next item is the Nintendo Switch Online upgrades. So technically, Nintendo Switch OS upgrades, which includes this new little Nintendo Switch Online. I don't know what you call it. When you play your games on the Switch, you've got the little like media bar that has the games, and then underneath it are those like the evergreen things, like the eShop and the photo album and the settings. And now there's a new little thing called, like, it's the NSO icon, and when you go to that, it's all the various features available to you through Nintendo Switch Online, and that includes those free games that come with it, like Tetris 99 and Mario 35, and then the Super Nintendo and NES stuff. So it's kind of this fun little package, and they've added some new features, like you're finally able to transfer pictures to your smartphone instead of only being able to tweet them and then download them at this terrible resolution, except it's obtuse. And you need to actually scan a QR code of the picture or group of pictures. I think you do up to 10 or something like that. And then
what is not obtuse about Nintendo's software?
Nothing, man.
Really a software
company. They
company.
already have a smartphone app. Like, it was, how hard would it have been to just like now upload to this repository in the smartphone app? Ta-da. Like,
think of the children. If they streamlined these features, Karch, you think of the children. Won't somebody think of the children?
Now, like, to be fair, Xbox does this the best, from what I remember reading the other day. Like, they actually do, like, it goes to the companion app directly, like I just suggested.
It does.
And then you can't do this at all on PlayStation. So they are slightly ahead, but also at the same time behind. And then for some reason, the way they've ordered the Super Nintendo and NES games is that, like, it's a single file column that you sort through by release date, with most recent to oldest. So you want to go play Super Mario Bros., you got to scroll all the way to that bottom of that list. Unless I somehow missed the filter, I looked around, I couldn't find it. Instead of that fun little, like, you know, like library tile thing that they had in the old one that was very reminiscent of the SNES classics, like the actual like physical device you could buy. No idea why they did that. I mean, it's kind of fun to see that, oh, that's the release order, neat. Or the release date. It came out in March 3rd of 1992, but aside from that, it's kind of useless. All right. And then last up, before we talk about what we've been playing, or rather what we wish we were playing, BioWare studio head Casey Hudson and Dragon Age producer, I'm going to screw this up, Mark Dara, leave BioWare.
I think that's actually Mark, and I made a typo. That's on me, folks.
Mark Dara. Sorry, Mark. Your new name
Real-time
is Mark.
corrections. I love it.
Real time. We don't have to do it next year. But yeah, they've left the company. Did it say why, Sean?
No, and like, you know, all their tweets and all that were kind of the standard fare for departing a company of, hey, I've appreciated all the opportunities and whatnot. But I mean, it's just crazy to me, especially for Casey Hudson, because he was, this is the second time he's departed BioWare. Mm-hmm. Like he left BioWare. I think he was the head for Mass Effect, worked for Microsoft for a few years, came back to be the head of BioWare, and is now departing BioWare again. Like,
in the midst of struggles, like they're not doing
Right.
so hot in the public eye, and I don't know about financially, but I can imagine they're like, swimming in the money right now. So, what do you think, Jason?
BioWare's an EA studio, right?
Correct.
I hate to say it, but it feels par for the course. Like when you have those big companies, the big publishers own these studios, and then they just make these super corporate decisions. And I could imagine that a creative person who wants to do something they're passionate about, I feel like that could clash with like the corporate culture of EA. And I mean, I don't want to, I say I don't want to speculate, but like I can only imagine, he's got his reasons for leaving. I have to believe that part of it is just realizing why he left in the first place.
Right. Like, but at the same time, it's like, it probably is like a bit of a shame on me situation. But at the same time, like, even if he was kind of forced out, like, why did they hire him back? What did they think he was going to do? Except similar things to what he did last time. Not that he was fired in either of these situations, but like, if he wasn't, like, why hire him back hoping he'll turn a ship around? And then when he attempts to do the very thing he was hired for, you would like, again, like you said, it's speculation, but like they might have, prevented him from doing those things. And then, of course, yes, he would become irritated and unhappy, and then he would leave again. I don't know. It's crazy. BioWare.
Yeah.
BioWare.
Yeah, it's just with like the things we've read about Anthem, where essentially I think BioWare had a good idea there, but all the corporate interference and whatnot that went into that game, and amongst, I have no doubt, other things. It's just it just continues to pain me. It's historically it's one of my favorite companies, and they continue to struggle.
Oh wow. Well, they're not out yet, and we hold the candle. We'll hold it, the vigil, strong until they can figure out what's going on.
When they restore their coffers with Mass Effect remastered.
I was gonna say I'll still probably buy that trilogy, although it's not coming to the Switch, right? So we'll see.
No, but I'll get it on PC. So
okay, I'll mooch.
Yeah, sounds great. All right, that was the news, and now we'll go ahead and move on to what we wish we were playing. Jason, what do you wish you were playing?
Oh, nothing, man. I have everything I want. Wow. I just need time to freeze. Freeze time. Freeze, because I have so much that I want. I mean, like, I have so much already, and I'm playing it all as fast as I can. I just need a pause. Cyberpunk comes out in 7 days, guys. A week from today.
Oh, I forgot to talk about this real quick. Breaking news segment. Best Buy shipped some of them by mistake. Some like definitive editions or like special editions. So people are going to be getting that game early.
Yeah, that seems like it always happens, but this seems a little more widespread. But still, 7 days, and I still have Baldur's Gate 3, and I still have a giant decision to make with it that I'll talk about here in a second. But yeah, ooh. I don't wish I was playing anything. I want... I have what do you call an embarrassment of riches? I want for nothing. I just need the time to play what I'm already playing.
You need to be growing some rice too.
No rice. Shush. We'll get to that. Hold your sake. I'm right there with you. I have an embarrassment of riches myself. I'm not particularly pleased with any of it, but at the same time, I still want time to slow down. Like, stop it. The only thing I haven't had a chance to play of the things I have access to would be Hyrule Warriors, which I was so stoked. I love that demo. I was all about it. And then, like, the world just kind of crashed around me. Not in like a terrible way, but like things just got hectic. And my nights don't start until like almost 10 o'clock the last few weeks, and just been really busy. And so, and plus I've been reading a book. I'm almost done. 1,200 pages. I'm on like 1,000. Wait, what'd you say?
I said a purple book.
A purple book. It's got a purple cover, and I love it. Rhythm of War, Brandon Sanderson. Go check it out. So yeah, once that's done, I'll have more time to game again, because I won't feel as compelled to finish reading it. So Sean, give us a real answer. What do you wish you were playing?
So as you guys mentioned, I think on your last episode, I was sick for a while. I was down for the count for a week, and it was really nice because well, it wasn't really nice. It sucked, but a nice part of it was when you're pretty much either bedridden or couch ridden, you play a lot of video games. So I did a pretty good job knocking out some couple games off my backlog and starting some other games. And now that I'm back to working and being a responsible human being, I missed that. And so like I started The Witcher 3 more than a week ago, and I played a couple hours of that, and I'm still not convinced, but like I played enough I haven't played enough that I don't want to play more, so I want to experience that more. How
far in? Well, we'll talk about in a second. I want to know how far in you got in a second.
I'm like 2 hours in. I'm barely in.
Okay.
I downloaded Monster Hunter World. Haven't even started that yet, but it's now on my Xbox.
Ooh.
You talked about Hyrule Warriors, which I did get to a little bit, but I haven't had time to play more of it since like the very beginning of this week. And my wife and I played that, and I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, that's been nice to have a game that my wife enjoys playing, and I want to play more of that. So I had this taste of large amounts of free time, even if it came with feeling like I was dying constantly. And now I'm back to regular life, and I miss being able to dedicate 10 hours a day to playing video games.
I was little, I just want to say this. When I was little and I would stay home sick from school, my mom wouldn't let me play video games because she said if I felt well enough to play video games, that I should be well enough to go to school. And now I kind of like, I think subconsciously hold myself to that same standard. So anytime I'm sick, I just lay in bed and sleep.
We gotta infect Jason and then make him play a video game.
I mean, I'm with you, Sean. I didn't play video games when I was sick, but now that I'm an adult and I make the rules, and if my options are to like lay on the couch and feel terrible, or lay on the couch, play video games, and make me forget about how terrible I feel, I'm going to play those video games.
You guys are sure. You have messed up. I was all over that as a kid, man. I never get sick ever, so I milk it. Oh, I busted my toe the other day. I was the biggest baby ever because nothing bad ever happens to me, like physically. Rachel hated it.
You were asking for it, dude.
It was. No, but I literally almost found myself saying the words out loud. Man, I wish I had COVID, because I was thinking about Sean's gaming like paradise that he was in, even though he was sick with the flu or whatever it was.
It did
turn out not to be COVID. It just turns out that even though I got a flu shot during the damn COVID year, I got the flu for the first time since college.
That's like really bad luck in a year where everyone's wearing masks.
I know. I don't know how I got it. Like,
insane.
I don't go anywhere but work and like grocery shopping.
You had those,
and I wear
guests.
A mask at all those times.
Wild. You heard it here first, folks. Masks don't work.
Please don't do that.
Cutting that out.
Please cut that.
I'm gonna leave it in.
Just
for posterity.
Kidding, everybody. Wear your masks.
when they come for us, I can offer him up instead on a platter.
I watched.
So we have been playing some stuff. Jason, tell us about this big decision in Baldur's Gate 3 you have.
Okay, so Baldur's Gate 3, we knew from the get-go that there would come a point at which this is an early access game, and the developers, Larian Studios, would create a patch in which your save would not carry over. Now, I think they're handling this as best they can, and I really respect the way that they're doing it, because they're giving you the option to continue the progress and play the full demo, which, I mean, granted, we call it a demo. It's 25, 30 hours worth of content. So play that early access portion, given like the patch 2, like the major patch 2, or you can go ahead and upgrade, but your save won't carry over, and then you get into like the patch 3 stuff. So I am about 12 hours in on my save file, which is probably about halfway through the early access portion. I have to decide if I want to continue to play something that I've really been enjoying, or I can go to patch 3, which offers some mechanics that I have been hoping for. So that's the decision I have to make. I know what I'm leaning toward. I'm definitely leaning toward going ahead and biting the bullet and going for the patch 3 stuff. And the main deciding factor for me is that they've made some changes in the gameplay that reward pacifism a little bit more than they have. And so instead of like all roads leading to an inevitable encounter, you actually get rewarded / avoid the combat situations if you're clever enough to wordsmith your way out of a situation, which I find very intriguing because that's the thing I loved most about Outer Worlds. So I think that's what I'm going to do. But despite that, I've been playing a ton of Baldur's Gate 3 and I'm loving it so much. The other thing is that the Nintendo Switch had a holiday sale. Karch and I went halvesies on BioShock. He hates it.
The
Joke's
collection.
on him. I didn't even want to buy it, but I went in anyway because he twisted my arm, and now I'm enjoying.
I don't hate it.
But
I don't hate it.
but I'm enjoying BioShock 2.
Shut up. Have you played it before?
I've beaten the first one on PlayStation 4. It was the remaster, so it's the same exact edition. And now I'm finally getting the chance to play it on the second one here.
I say whether you like the first one or not. And so obviously, Jason, you like it. Karch, you may or may not. Definitely try out the third one because it's fairly separate from the other two.
Yeah, I'm gonna for sure.
And narratively, I think it's the superior of the three.
Ooh, that's really exciting considering I loved the first one. I'm liking the second one, and I'm definitely going to play the third.
Mm-hmm. They're short. I can already tell I'm like halfway through this one.
Yeah.
And so anyway.
I look forward when you guys play BioShock Infinite and we get to have a talk about it because there's.
Do you guys want to do a spoiler cast for BioShock Infinite?
Like
Sounds
10
great.
years after the fact?
That's fine.
People still
King K does it all the time.
Yeah.
I will say one knock. I don't know your YouTube people, Karch. I will say one knock on this. The sound design of BioShock's always bothered me, and it's always been touted as like. I will just state the problem. The problem is that I have headphones on and I'm walking in a room. All of a sudden, it sounds like there's someone right in my right ear. I turn to look and there's no one there, and then I start getting shot from like a totally different direction.
Yeah.
I don't consider that a feature. They tout it as if it's a feature because they're like, well, you're in this like weird, depraved, post-apocalyptic, failed capitalistic world, and this is just like part of making you feel insane. And I'm like, no, but it's so poorly executed. I feel like they could have done it better, and it just comes off to me as an excuse because it's not good. It drives me nuts.
That's all it is. I'm sure Infinite probably fixes it.
I didn't start playing games with headsets until this year, so I don't know if the third one has that same problem.
It's not a headset problem because I don't play with the headset, and the sound, that issue is present even when you're playing like with the speakers and stuff.
I must just not remember it then.
Mm-hmm. It's not like the end of the world, but it is irritating. It creates a false tension because like you said, you think they're right on top of you, and they may be, but just certainly nowhere near what you're expecting them to.
Well,
and so now you literally have to struggle with your ears and your eyes now. Like they're not in sync anymore, and that's like it's just disorienting.
Not only is it disorienting, but you're trying to do this like on the Switch. You're playing with a controller, obviously, and so like it's really hard to figure out where to look, where to aim. I end up almost dying every single time, not because I'm bad, just because I just feel like this messes with me so much.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember because I didn't play BioShock 2, but I don't remember that BioShock 1, but I played that one right when it came out. I can tell you, and I've played BioShock Infinite much more recently. I definitely don't remember that being a problem. So hopefully they learn their lesson, and that'll go away for you guys when you get to the third one.
It's no longer current gen, but it was on PS.
It was I would say Infinite was a late 360 game. So
was it? Okay, I thought it was on the current stuff. Okay,
no, it was like very, very, very close, like within I think a year of the end of that, like the year before the end of that generation.
Gotcha. All right, Sean, what have you been playing?
So I've been playing a decent amount. Coming out of my flu driven video game marathon, I started playing KOTOR again. Knights of the Old Republic,
a good BioWare game.
One of the best BioWare games. Mm-hmm. I loaded that back up and I started it a while. So KOTOR was on Game Pass more than a year ago, like right around when Game Pass first came out, and I picked it up. And then I started playing it a little bit, and then it went off Game Pass. So my save file was like, well, yeah, all right, fine. I moved on to other games, and I was sick, and I was like, I'm gonna go play KOTOR. So I paid the like $5 it cost me to like to be able to quote unquote download KOTOR, because I already had it downloaded because I never had uninstalled it. Right. Just gave me the rights to then launch it again. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna start new. And then I got like 20 minutes into a new playthrough, and I was like, oh god, this is like the 6th time I have played through it's a bit of generic a NPC taking me through the ship before I get in the escape pod, and then meeting god, what's the main guys? It's not Garth. Karth, yes. And I was like, nope, can't do this again. So I went, because my previous playthrough I was on like the 3rd planet. So I loaded back up into that one, and I'm now on I'm like 4 planets in, not playing it super often, but bouncing back into it and greatly enjoying every moment of going back playing KOTOR. It's amazing because like the graphics on that game are old. But as opposed to like I sometime last generation or late 360, I went back and played some like 64 games, and like those games do not graphics wise hold up. Mm-hmm. But like playing KOTOR, which is an Xbox One game, like it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look terrible. Like they have aged somewhat well, which was kind of impressive to see.
Have you beaten it before?
Like right when it came out, like it's been a long time, and I don't like. There's a lot of things I'm experiencing in this game that I don't remember, and like so I'm like once I finish one of the other games I'm going to talk about, I'll probably go hard into trying to beat KOTOR.
Are you being a good boy or a bad boy?
I'm a good boy. I'm always a good boy in video games. Good. My Eagle Scout never not shines through when I play video games.
That makes a lot of sense. Karch, I feel like, is always the bad guy. I feel like I'm always kind of in between.
That never used to be something I did, but I've become impatient, and with impatience comes destruction.
Tell that to our devil horned Fable character from 2006.
That was because you get a group of boys together at that age, and of course they're going to be that way.
Yeah, that's true.
I did buy Hyrule Warriors. Nice. Which I've also decided, because you guys can all download it and you'd offer to pay me a little bit for it. Nope. Merry Christmas. Congratulations. You have Hyrule Warriors.
What? Thanks, Sean.
So I started playing that, and I played like the first couple levels on the demo, and then so I carried over my progress, and I was loading up, and I was like checking the start menu and like the changing out items and all that, and it was like, what's this button for activate like dual screen mode? And I hit it, and I was like, oh, this is multiplayer. So I handed my wife a controller because she greatly enjoyed Breath of the Wild, and we've played that a couple times now together. We unlocked, because like right where I was, like we had to beat one more level, and then we could go and like unlock like the levels we can unlock the 4 champions. Mm-hmm. So we went and got Urbosa first, and my wife has now played as Urbosa, and Urbosa is awesome and fantastic, and watching her snap her fingers and lightning strike those around her is great. I'm enjoying Impa because Impa is super OP, and I don't know what they needed Link for, because very clearly Impa could have destroyed all of Ganon's armies.
Yeah,
that's pretty amazing.
She's awesome. Really good in the first one. She's a totally different kind of character. She actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, she has a huge sword, like just a gigantic sword.
Is she modeled after like her 64 version in the first one?
It's not exactly, but much closer to that idea.
Okay.
So, because that's the most, aside from that.
She's definitely like ninjutsu type of stuff. And
it's fun. I played the demo. I like
Age of Calamity.
Yeah, I liked her in the demo, but I did prefer her gigantic, like almost Buster Sword style kind of thing going on. And we did play enough. We played one level after getting Urbosa, and we got Daruk, and Daruk's pretty kind of, I mean, as you'd expect, is pretty much like that. Is he on fire?
He can light things on fire.
Daruk.
He's great.
Oh, that's good, Karch.
It's terrible, but it always pops in my head. I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, go on, Sean.
And then besides that, I started Sakuna of Rice and Ruin.
Oh boy.
And like this game has struck a chord with me. So this game, the general premise is you are like the daughter of a harvest goddess and a warrior god. And because of like some of your own incompetence, you got banished to an island that you have now been tasked with like clearing of demons. But your character, like, you're great in combat because you're the daughter of a warrior god. But the way you get stronger is by growing rice. And this game is like I know probably more than I need to know about how to harvest rice because of this game. Because this game, like, it's not like a Harvest Moon where it's basically like, water the plants. You can maybe add fertilizer. Like, this game is hard into the details on how to raise your rice and the proper ways, like, and the spacing to plant it and the amount you need to flood your fields and how to properly fertilize and deal with diseases and all these other things. In addition to, like, you know, there's these humans you were banished with, and they all kind of bring unique things. Especially one of them finds like animals, and some of those animals can help around the farm. Like, I am way too addicted to this game, and it's not a perfect game. Like I enjoy the combat, but combat's definitely not flawless in this game. Like if all this game had was like a generic story and its combat, it would not be a winner. But this game has a what I find to be a pretty entertaining story, very good voice acting, and then the whole, like, the interspersing the rice mechanics along with having to go off on quests because part of it is when you go and clear levels, you get materials that you can use for like fertilizer in order to like better fertilize your crops. So it's all kind of interrelated, and I am very much involved with playing Sakuna of Rice and Ruin to the point where I've eaten Chinese food for like the last 3 nights.
Ooh, I want some Chinese.
Homemade Chinese food, but yes.
That sounds really good.
Get that out of
I
here.
make very good homemade Chinese food.
I want that greasy crap.
Excuse you, sir.
I want that greasy
And if
crap.
you want that homemade Chinese food recipe, subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, I'm going to start a Patreon exclusive, never free to play, but free to cook dinner podcast.
Love it. Sean's recipes going in the B-roll.
Yeah.
I tried a little bit of it, not his food, but the game. And it didn't click with me, unfortunately. As a lover of Stardew Valleys and Harvest Moons, and fast-paced, like fun side-scrolling combat, I didn't give it a fair shake. I will come back to it at some point, but I only
did you at least bring in your first rice crop?
No, I planted some, and it's like, you spaced it too far apart. I'm like, you didn't tell me to space it close together, and
I love this. I love this so much right now.
Why is this like?
Because Sean really
justice?
likes it, and the frustration he must feel with you is the same as me struggling to plant parsnips in Stardew Valley for you.
This is different though. This is like a rice planting sim.
So what's funny, because you got knocked for planting rice too far apart. Later on in the game, it's preferable to plant your rice far apart.
That's so stupid. And like,
what's crazy is as you get more into that game, your character learns, because like your character's basically been living on their resting on their laurels and living on like their parents' legacy. You learn more about like rice growing. So I'm at the point where like I sort my seeds and get the highest quality seeds in the beginning, and then I plant my saplings in such a way so that when I put them in the field, I get higher quality. Like it gets so involved, and it might just be my engineer brain. My engineer brain loves every moment of it.
Sure. It's a rice sim. Like, it's very, and I don't want a rice sim. I just want pretend rice planting, which is what Stardew stuff like gives me. I was like, okay, I'll invest myself in these characters and their goofy little stories and antics, but it was that beginning until you finally do get to plant your rice for the first time dragged on, and I was like, come on, guys, shut up, stop talking.
I will give it that the story, and especially Sakuna as the main character, for her to begin to go, like, she doesn't begin to like recognize her flaws and start going through like a character arc for a decent amount of time in the game. Like, I will give you that. It's a while before she finally is like, oh, I wasn't a good person.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's cool. About time.
I can wait, but like, just because the characters aren't doing anything, they're literally just standing there and talking. Like, it makes it a lot harder to swallow those like what feel like 20-minute scenes. They're obviously not that long, but that's just what it turns into, unfortunately.
You are eventually able to task them with doing stuff.
That's cool. Like I said, I will swing back around when I'm not so swamped with other things that I want to play / can't even have time to play. So,
and then the only thing I played is I've been fitness boxing because it's cold and I don't want to go outside and run. So fitness boxing.
Yeah. It is cold. We had a nice cold snap here. It was like 38 degrees, in the evening, morning.
We dropped under freezing. We've got a little water bowl that we leave out on the back patio for the dogs when they go outside, and it froze over.
Nice. I think I told Juliet that, and she was like, "Nuh-uh." Like the idea that water could freeze was just so novel to her.
It's amazing.
Yeah. All right.
Nature can't make ice. Only the refrigerator can do that.
It's impossible. Exactly. It doesn't snow in Florida, so thus it can't freeze. But what was it? All right. What I've been playing? Not a lot. Like I said, I've been reading. The night comes around. I'm like, I'm going to read like 50 pages of this right now and go to bed too late. But I have been watching a Final Fantasy IX Let's Play by one Kyle Bosman, formerly of Easy Allies fame. And he's hilarious. Kyle is a great storyteller, might not be the right word, but like there's a lot of people out there streaming games and making Let's Plays that are just boring. And he just finds it, like, on top of the fact that I just absolutely love this game. I could just listen to its soundtrack and the game being played in general, but he does the voices like I was doing on mine. So like I can listen to it. I don't have to watch it, but it's fun to watch it too. He's really funny with his chat and he just loves this game as much as I do. So like, it's just been a really nice little experience. And so what that did, though, was it encouraged me to go back and get that platinum that I started like 3 years ago. And I had stopped because there is a horrible trophy called Bloodlust in which you have to kill 10,000 enemies, which, like you think in a video game, especially like an RPG where you're going at super speeds because of the little hacks they put in, not that much. It's too many. It's still too many. You're only going to kill like 1,500 max on a full playthrough with side quests. And so that leaves 8,500 more enemies to kill. And they only show up in like 3s and 4s at the most. Sometimes it's 1s and 2s. And so what I did is I went out and I bought an Ethernet cable. I ran it across the entire house, hooked it up to my router so that I'd have a hard line. And then I did use remote play. And then I ran a script that would run me in a circle and smash the X button. And so I left that on overnight. And at 4 a.m. the other night, it popped. And so like after like literally like 15 hours of it running, it finally did it for me. And so now I can go get the rest of them, which were a few that I missed on my first playthrough. So I'm going to have to play this game. I've already played it once. I haven't beaten it yet because I'm going to get the platinum. When I get the platinum, it's going to be on the trophy.
Sure you have beaten the game
ages ago, but not like recently in this quest. So I want the last trophy I get, aside from the platinum, obviously, to be the one where I beat the game. I want it to be this fun little poetic thing.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because I'm broken inside. So I've mostly played through it except for the ending. I'm gonna have to play through it again to get these missable trophies, and then a third time because there's a speed run trophy where you have to get to a certain point in a certain amount of time to get this weapon. Because for some reason back then they thought that would be fun. It wasn't. Nobody liked to do that.
Weren't you doing a Let's Play of this at some point, Karch?
And so and then after I beat and get my platinum, I am going to finish the Let's Play on the PC version and do everything the normal way. Not everything, like I'm not going to get all the achievements like I did this time, but I'm going to beat the game without like, using all the cheats and stuff. And I'm going to beat the super boss, which is like the super hard thing to do. And I might do a few other things, but I'm going to record that and put it on the YouTube channel. Because I love Final Fantasy.
Promise?
Do I promise? Yes, I promise.
Because otherwise, I'll go watch this Kyle Bosman's videos, and he can be my best friend.
Ooh, dude, that should be motivation.
Dude, it's not a bad idea. Like, I wish you would do both. While you wait for mine, go watch his or something. He's trying to, he got to, so like, there's a classic thing in Final Fantasy, especially the older ones, where they would go to dwarves. Like, they would go to a city, there would be dwarves, and they would all say rally ho. And they would like, the text would be in this very, like, kind of hokey Scottish accent, and listening to him try to do a Scottish accent has been really, really funny because he can't. It comes out as Swedish. I don't know what happens.
I mean, anyway, me trying to do any accent comes out as Scottish. So
there you go. It's the only one you can do. You should get with him.
It is the only one I can do.
And workshop it with him. I played some BioShock. I will say that I like the game. I do. I really do. I hate the combat. I hate the controls. I find them just like, I don't find fighting things to be fun for many tiny little reasons. But my biggest complaint, and apparently I'm just bad because Jason said he didn't have this problem, when I'm trying to switch between my plasmids, which are your shocky fire, magic spells that you get by injecting yourself with stuff, and my actual weapons and guns, like, it's too much. Like, I want to shock somebody, like a big daddy, and then I want to shoot him with a grenade launcher. It takes way too much time to switch between those two. And I don't know. I don't know. And then on top of that, I think I'll be firing off something, whether it's a gun or a plasmid, and I'll actually be hitting the swap button. So maybe that's my problem. Maybe I think I'm switching and I'm just hitting the wrong button over and over again. Anyway, I pumped it down to easy because I want to get to infinite. I want to get to the latest one that everyone really, really, really likes, at least more recently. But I love the story so far. I do know the ending, so there's it's not a huge surprise. But the world building's superb. The atmosphere is superb. The level design is really, really good. Yeah. I find that even though I don't love the combat, I have no problem walking around this place. I'm like, this is good. The tells are, like the way it leads you around. It's very well designed. It's a very well.
It's a little bit Metroidvania-esque as well.
To a degree, you definitely leave areas. It seems to never come back to them.
Sure. But there are some where you can't get through here until you get this ability. And
correct. Like there's ice and you got to melt it and you got to remember to go back and melt ice somewhere else and that kind of stuff. And
it also really encourages exploration, which I very much enjoyed at the time.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I feel like I don't love the upgrade system with the Atom because like I'm saving the little girls, and so I get less Atom. Except then you get more Atom on the back end because then like once you save so many girls, they're like, well, here's some more Atom anyway. I'm like, well, where did you get that? So it's like, who did you kill to get it? But then you have to choose between all these things, and it is still an older game, and so it's a bit vague as to like how useful some of those things may or may not be. I haven't found the bee plasmid yet. I want to be able to shoot bees at people. I remember Robert doing that back in the dorm. That was fun. But yeah, I'll just plow through this on easy.
We were living in the dorms then.
Yeah, we were. Mm-hmm. That's when I watched him first play it.
I would, I mean, everything you say I remember, and most of those things I recall being vastly improved upon for Infinite. So all I'll say is, would you kindly make sure you play Infinite?
Oh, we will. Got to just for the spoiler cast alone.
We got to get our $15 each worth.
Exactly. And yeah, Sean, play it again. Play through it on Switch and just so you're refreshing.
I mean, I own it digitally on the 360 too, so I can always download on the one and just play it that way too.
That'd probably be better.
In fact, I should because my wife is, I think, beating the first one, and she's interested in Infinite and she wants to see it, but I don't think she wants to play it, so I may play it that way.
Cool. And then the last thing I played only a little tiny bit of last week when we weren't recording, Jason and I got together and we played some Baldur's Gate 3 together. Not like the actual multiplayer that they offer, but we just did a Dix per session and we were like swapping control and decision making. And while we definitely butted heads, we stepped on certain decisions and combat stuff. We had a good time and got through, a decent little chunk of the beginning. We were made a fighter who was stupid and untrustworthy. Like he didn't want to tell anybody he had the tadpole in his head that the mind flayers.
That was your decision, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was a good one. Like every time somebody pressed us on it, we're like, nah, I don't know what you're talking about. As much as it would let us.
So one of the features, and part of this was because I think the multiplayer built into Baldur's Gate 2, but even when you played single player, you could make all 6 characters your own characters if you wanted to. Does 3 give you the option to make more than just the main character your own character?
No. They're following, just you can, in fact, and what I didn't notice when we went to that character creation screen is, so similar in Divinity 2, you can pick one of the 6 pre-made characters who have like a past, a backstory, and a motive and all that, or you can make a custom. And I picked one of the backstory characters, and you can do that in Baldur's Gate 3. You just can't do it yet. So there's like 6 or so characters who have, a predefined class and race and all that stuff. And you can just play that character if you don't want to do the whole avatar situation. But yeah, it's just the one custom, to my knowledge.
Also, apparently, even the main characters who are on the home screen are pretty missable.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah, like we killed I killed one of them early on, and they're just gone. Like it even says it in the quest log, so and so died, and then I missed one other.
You missed
because I just didn't go up a certain path. It just like he's just sitting there, and it's just like there's like 3 ways to go that direction, and I just didn't go that direction. And I found everybody else though, so I killed one, found everybody else, and then missed one. But I'm I don't have the problem Jason has. Well, not that he has a problem. I'm just going to skip straight and make a new character. I'm going to make a cleric of some kind. I don't know yet. Oh, yes, I do. They're going to be a psychopath, but like a well-meaning psychopath. And so one of the characters you meet early on is another cleric. I'm going to kill her and take her spot. I'm going to make a character that looks almost exactly like her and then pretend to be her, except she's really mean. So I'm going to be really good. Like, I'm going to pretend like, I'm purging this stain on existence and I'm going to do it right this time. So we'll see.
Should be interesting.
It should be very interesting.
If you want to see more of these interesting character creations, subscribe to the Patreon and watch us play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yes, exactly.
I love how we're just like doing all these false promises.
I mean,
no, they're not false. Stop it.
I'm the one guy who subscribes to Patreon, and I have gotten all of the recipes and get to see us play Dungeons and Dragons every time we play. So I'm just saying.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
100% of our patrons agree.
Yeah, exactly.
Drink break.
Drink break.
Oh.
Drink break.
I don't know how to harmonize. It's a
Drink
weakness of mine.
break. Drink break.
All right, before we get into our topic of the show, which is all Game of the Year related, we got some rants. But before we get into the rants, I had a little bit of indication. Just now chatting with one Sean Mybers and Jason Wright. Turns out, in BioShock 2 and Infinite, your plasmids and your gun are available at the same time. So it's just a matter of hitting the right L or R button. That is not the case in BioShock, which Sean now remembers. You do have to swap between them. So I'm not doing anything wrong. They're doing something wrong. Screw
You're
you,
not
2K.
crazy. I'm just forgetful.
Exactly. All right. Jason ranted to us off camera because it wasn't really gaming related. Sean, what's stuck in your craw today?
So Fortnite, right? Finished up its season, and apparently Galacticus, because it was all Marvel related, came and swallowed the Fortnite world, and then Iron Man showed up and was like, "Oh man, I'm gonna give him a stomach ache," and then save the world via giving him a stomach ache. And all this is a summary to say that like I don't understand Fortnite. Like,
I don't get it.
No Infinity War spoilers, by the way. I haven't seen it yet.
Galactus is not in Infinity War.
I haven't seen it.
He can't because he's technically considered a Fantastic Four villain, and those rights are still owned by Sony. And I will shut up now, at least on that. But like,
Fox.
I don't like Fortnite. Like its gameplay is meh, and like it's certainly not like it's got a story or graphics or anything. That, like I get that I guess it's somehow becoming like the metaverse, but that's only because somehow it's become super popular, and I don't understand how it got there. And it's this cultural phenomenon when it's not that good of a game, and clearly I'm just like an old man ranting, but I don't get it. And yes,
it's the flossing, dude. Honestly,
like, you go die right now.
Well, no, I'm serious. I remember, like, I followed the story of this game from when it was released, and it did not have this. It was only Fortnite Save the World. It did not have this mode, right? And I remember it getting pretty popular because it kind of reinvigorated the battle royale genre.
Well, no, it didn't reinvigorate. It offered a free version, a competent free version when Player Unknown Battlegrounds was at its zenith. And so here you had the hottest thing, and then you had a free version right over here that probably did it a little bit better.
Right.
That's
well,
really how
because it had all of the developmental money of 2K plus
Epic.
Player Unknown Battleground is built on the same engine that Fortnite is, that 2K owns and built Fortnite on. So it was super easy for them to convert.
Right. But here's my point. It was popular at that point. It was popular. But as we all know, the people who truly drive these trends are middle schoolers with way too much time on their hands and their parents' credit card numbers. And when they started introducing these dances is when I think it broke in to the mainstream.
Yeah.
Because I think it was a very gamer-centric popularity prior to them introducing all of these ancillary things. And then it just like all of a sudden middle school kids got in on this. If you look at Fortnite, it looks like it's eye candy. It's plastic. It's colorful. It's outrageous. And then
it also got on phones really fast and really effectively. Like it works well on a phone, like with touch. I wouldn't play it that way, but that doesn't mean other people.
That was the thing is what like I want to say during the height of all this Apple Fortnite stuff that like apparently I'm not going to say like 60% of Fortnite players played on iPhone. I don't think that meant they played exclusively on iPhone, but they played some of their time on iPhone. So clearly the game works well on a mobile platform.
Right.
So maybe that's the thing. Maybe I'm just too tied to my monitor and my TV.
You are.
I don't think that's it, man. I truly think it's just the way that it broke in, like the way that it broke into not just gaming, but like pop culture in general. And I agree with you. Like, I don't think, I mean, Fortnite is, I don't know, for me,
it's not a great game.
Like, yeah, it's not a great game.
It's the same way that like GTA Online. GTA Online continues to rake in copious amounts of cash. And like GTA 5 is a pretty good game, but like there's like in the gameplay itself, there are flaws in that game that have not been resolved. Like it's not from a gameplay standpoint, it's nothing amazing. And like to me, Fortnite's even more just kind of meh. But they're money makers, and it drives me nuts because there's better games out there.
Oh yeah, for sure, but they're not free.
Fair.
Not that obviously. They're still making money,
I disagree. Call of Duty Warzone is a better game and it's free.
That's way more recent.
Apex Legends is a better game.
Also very much.
I
more
mean,
recent.
those came after.
Says the Respawn fanboy, but
there's no flossing. There's no flossing.
You need the flossing.
Maybe that's it. Maybe flossing's the key. We should floss on this podcast more.
Well, we should. But here's the other thing. I think parents are more willing to allow their younger children to play a game like with middle Fortnite. Schoolers. There's not blood. There's you shoot somebody. Yeah, they're guns, but it looks like toys.
Yeah,
and
it's
when
the Nintendo version
die,
of all these games.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's a part of it.
But to Sean's point, you're very right, Jason. You are 100% correct. The mass appeal, the eye candy, all that stuff is true. But to Sean's point about it being not a good game, because then you have influencers and streamers and personalities that we actually like and respect who still can't stop talking about this game. Like, you have better taste than this. Stop talking about this game.
That's true, but it's a feedback loop, man. It's a feedback loop.
Yeah, it is. Kratos is coming to Fortnite. Why is Kratos in it at all? He doesn't even kind of shoot
Fortnite wants
stuff.
to be the metaverse. It wants to be that whole thing in the Oracle from Ready Player One.
And it ruined...
Or Lego. Lego's the original metaverse,
Star Wars.
Man.
You're right. No. Star Wars ruined Star Wars.
It did, but it helped ruin Star Wars. It was complicit.
Fair.
What was complicit? Disney?
So before Rise of Skywalker came out, big spoilers here, Palpatine is back in Rise of Skywalker for no good reason. But guess what? That news was announced in Fortnite.
I remember that.
Which is cool as an idea if you're just like a Fortnite fan, but as like someone who's already really upset with the direction Star Wars was going, and then to have to watch this happen and with like there's just nothing you can do about it, like, okay, all right, so this is how democracy dies, with thunderous applause.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. But now Kratos was in there. Like, the Marvel stuff made some sense because they had whatchamacallit before. They had Thanos back when Infinity War came out. But this was a little bit more like unrelated to anything in that regard.
Well, they had some DC comic stuff too.
They had John Wick right out the gate, man. People were riding rockets as John Wick. It was hilarious. All right.
So clearly the lesson here is up your game, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I need you to get all of the characters and become the multiverse first, because I don't want it to be Fortnite.
No. Video games only.
And up your dose, everyone else.
Yes. Up your dose of whatever you're on. Life-saving medicine? Take another. Illegal drugs? Take another.
Insulin? Just go ahead and give yourself a double dose.
Pancreas.
Got it. More bourbon. Will do.
Exactly. You got a drink in your hand?
This drink break brought to you by Bacardi.
I don't need a drink break. I just bring the bottle to the desk.
I need a drink break. I'll be right back.
Punch me out. Took a drink break.
Punch me out. Real? Yeah, I'm for real.
I can't stand you. All right, after our impromptu drink break, we are ready and jazzed and liquidated for the Game of the Year discussion. Last time we had Sean on, we did Game of the Game of the Generation. This time we're going to focus on 2020, which you don't want to look at it too hard. Like the sun, if you look at 2020 too hard, bad things will happen to you. Not just your eyes, but, your entire life. But we're going to go through some categories.
To our future listeners, you may not want to listen to this part because you may catch something you don't want to.
Exactly. Don't do it. So really the only thing that we're not going to be able to discuss is Cyberpunk. Because it still isn't out yet. Because, and they might delay it. Who knows? But everything else is up for grabs. If you've played it this year for the first time, or of course, it actually came out this year, we can talk about it. And we're going to go through some categories that we made Jason answer at the last second. So it'll be fun to see what he came up with.
It will be fun. I did these all very quickly within like 10 minutes. So,
all right. So I'll go ahead and I'll moderate this like I moderate most things. And I'll just let you guys, I'll throw it up and whoever wants to answer first. So first up category is biggest surprise.
Rice growing simulator Sakuna.
What? Say that again.
Biggest surprise is the fact that I would love growing rice so much. So Sakuna Rice and Run.
Very good answer.
Did not expect that game to I was like, oh, this looks fun. But I did not expect the whole rice mechanic to really be as big of a draw for me as it was.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Jason?
I took this question a little bit differently, and I was just thinking biggest surprise in gaming for 2020. And now, while there were a lot of surprises in 2020, the one that I have as biggest surprise for 2020 for me personally was Microsoft buying Bethesda, because I just feel like that came out of left field. Like I don't remember hearing rumors about that. It's just like one day it was announced. And what are the implications of that? Especially with the projects they have in development. So
good answer.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Mine was a mix of both. It's about a game, but it's the announcement of that game, and that surprise was Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity. That was equally kind of out of left field. No one was talking about that. I wouldn't have expected them to come back at a sequel and then have it so focused on the beloved property that is Breath of the Wild at that. Probably not quite the prequel I think everybody was hoping for. I haven't played it yet, but I know there's some timey-wimey stuff, so it might all kind of get just rushed under the rug as far as its implications for the not the potential, but the actual sequel. But I remember thinking like, wow, wasn't expecting that. What a smart move. What a interesting way to take this totally different landscape and apply it to this very niche genre where it fits so well. Like it's just everything kind of just melded perfectly in my mind, at least as far as an idea is concerned. I haven't played it yet, so we'll see. But that was my surprise.
I mean, to me, it's almost a continuation. Like we are somewhat seeing Nintendo being a little bit less risk averse than they have been in the past. Like they're loaning Zelda, not just Zelda, but like a Breath of the Wild tie-in game. Arguably their biggest Zelda since Ocarina of Time, if not bigger. It's right there with what they've done with Pokemon Go and some of their other stuff. So and in general, it's been very interesting to see kind of Nintendo maybe branch out a little bit this year and in the last couple of years.
For sure. Still waiting on that Mario and Rabbids sequel, but we'll see.
Did you guys play that? No, don't want to sidetrack, but that's a fun game. You should play it.
We've all played it. And it is amazing. All right, next category is biggest company snafu.
Let's go first.
2077.
That's what I said too.
Oh, you did? That's hilarious.
Where's my mic? I will drop it.
Don't drop your mic. You just bought it.
Right. In a year of like all these sexual allegations, etc., all this bad stuff happening in the gaming industry, that's all really bad. But snafu, I just think failure to execute, and I can't help but think Cyberpunk 2077.
Definitely.
Not to mention all of the it's like, how do you get hit with criticism about crunch and still not meet your deadline for 3 or 4 times? Like, how do you even do that? It's beyond me.
It's like they're crunchers and they're bad at it. They're not good crunchers. They don't even know what to do with all that extra crunchy time.
It's insane.
Yeah, I agree completely. Just they've totally they got all this crap about crunch. Said no, we're totally not going to crunch. Got caught crunching, and then you got delayed. So coming from my military background, it's the perfect definition of a snafu. Of everything is wrong, and you totally also shot yourself in the foot several times while doing everything wrong.
Yep.
Did you have something different, Karch?
I did. My snafu was the epic blunder, trying to get a bigger piece of that pie from Apple and then getting shut down just completely wholesale, wholesale, like not even nothing. I mean, I know
not nothing, dude. Not nothing. They got back on iOS via GeForce Now,
but that's not a win. That's not they didn't. That wasn't that was them crawling back in the back door.
Yeah,
they had to get back.
Arguably, Apple won that.
They did. They absolutely did.
Well, they did. They did.
Yeah. And I mean, Apple's got its own problems. It's fighting off monopoly suits in other countries, at least. But that's not really gaming related. But yeah, I just remember rolling my eyes at every step of that. They're sanctimonious, self-righteous, trying to use it as the at the end of the day, it was all over $2. $2 a thing, and I'm like, you are the worst.
Both are the worst.
Yeah, they both are. And yet somehow they made me more mad at them. That's how bad it was to me. They went out of their way to make me dislike them more than the the giant corporation I already by default disliked for being a giant corporation.
Yeah, Apple's wrong, but it doesn't innately mean that Fortnite or that Epic's right.
Right. It is not a righteous cause. It's a video game.
No heroes. We said that when we covered it in the first place, but there are no heroes in this story.
Precisely. Excellent. All right, next category. COVID calamity. This is basically anything COVID related.
So I took this as a positive, which was I didn't have COVID. I had the flu, which was very concerning that it was COVID. And so I looked at what game that I spend the most amount of my time of illness playing that got me through the illness, and that had to be Hades.
Yeah.
You guys talked it up. I purchased it, and I did 30 plus runs of Hades in that week that I was sick.
Love it.
So good.
Jason. I'm also not going to mention the fact that you beat this game so much quicker than Karch or myself.
Than both of us, I know. As far as time, number of runs to escape. Shut up, Sean.
Shut up.
I'm a expert amateur gamer.
Expert, better than pro.
He may have one up to your
you may be an amateur pro gamer, but I'm an expert amateur gamer.
That's the one. Jason.
Oh, for me, this is not really a 2020 game per se, but I found myself having a lot of virtual Jackbox Party Pack sessions via Zoom, which was really fun because I got to have fun playing these games with people who aren't traditionally gamers, like our family and other people. So an extended family that, in a normal year, we would have visited at least once, but we didn't get to see them. But at least we got to play Jackbox a couple times, and actually it was pretty fun.
Thanks for inviting us, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, I don't like you guys that much. But yeah, that's my COVID calamity.
Break so I can go cry.
I could have gone with Among Us or Fall Guys, which I think got a major boon from just the timing of their release and catching lightning in a bottle. But I didn't personally play either of those games, so I'm going with Jackbox.
Sounds good.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that you guys went positive. I went positive too, and I took the easy one because I was the only one who played a lot of this anyway. I don't know if you played it at all, Sean, but Animal Crossing was not because it was here at the beginning of COVID. I definitely bought it as a stress purchase because I had never enjoyed a COVID game. I never enjoyed an Animal Crossing game before, but this one looked promising. It was a very different part of my life than in past years where I just wouldn't have been into that kind of game. Put myself in the right mindset of what it was. And then I also was able to get my wife and daughter on board at the same time. And we all played this game like we were mad, like just just insane for this game, and like everybody was, but that's just never happened in this house, and it probably will never happen again, at least for many, many years, to have Juliet playing in the afternoon after school, and then Rachel playing, and after she finishes until maybe 11 at night, with only me finally getting my Switch back like 11:30, being too tired to do anything, and I'm like, I'm gonna dig this hole, fish. I can't. And then like having someone beat me at a video game, basically. Like Rachel was fishing all the stuff. She was finding all the fossils. She was her house was bigger than mine, and she had more money. I was like, what are you doing? Stop it. This is not the order of things. This is not the actual order. But yeah, no, Animal Crossing New Horizons is a great game. It could be a lot better. As good as it is, it could be a lot better. It's polished, but it's at the same time it's also kind of phoned in. Like they're definitely stretching that thing thin, trying to make sure they can get the most out of it, which is weird because at the same time it's like you're getting no extra money from these updates.
Are you one of those guys, Karch?
No, but when I hear
320 hours a week and this game has no content.
It's not that it has no content. It's other games had content I would much rather play than the content that's in this game. Like the things you collect, the way you collect them, the activities you can do with your neighbors and your villagers. Like, and there's just a lot of weird quality of life stuff that's just still missing to this day. Like I should be able to swap out villagers easier. It shouldn't be this weird random game of chance, but I don't want to get into the weeds about why I don't like this game as much as I could. So that was my COVID calamity.
But all right. I want you to agree that game blew up. Like, yeah, good for it.
Best selling. It's going to be the best selling Switch game by the end of the life cycle for sure.
Sit here and pretend like you didn't try to min-max selling turnips.
I did that for like 3 weeks and it was way too much work. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. All right. Speaking of disappointments, next category is most disappointing game.
So I've got a slight tie here.
Mm-hmm.
One was Crystal Chronicles, the remake.
Oh, that's a good one. A lot of people hated that.
Like that game, for me, like apparently, like it had bad loading and all that. But the biggest thing from that was like I wanted, like, it's a cute game. The narration's fantastic. The music's great. It's got this great little story, and I knew my wife would enjoy playing that with me. And then it turns out the multiplayer was only online. Like,
yeah,
you shot me down so hard, Square. And then my second one is Windbound. I was well on my way to loving that game, and then it deleted all my items. It was like all you had to do was make a game that like didn't have horrendous, apparently save leaking problems, and you didn't do that, and you ruined a game that like I'll agree that game had a lot of things to improve on, but that game struck a lot of perfect chords with me, and you just totally screwed it up. And I remain sad and disappointed about that.
Pour one out for your items, Jason. Most disappointing game.
I hate to say this, I really do. But for me, this year, when I think about what games did I truly enjoy and truly have fun with, when I think about the price I paid for these games and how much enjoyment I got out of them in this year, the most disappointing game to me was Super Mario 3D All-Stars.
Interesting.
Because, and here's the thing, it's really, okay, it's a combination of things. One being a minor gripe that they basically added no quality of life improvements to the game. And I don't care about the visuals and that sort of thing necessarily, but essentially it was a very lazy port of these titles.
Lazy.
Right?
So lazy.
Second gripe, they didn't include Mario Galaxy 2, but they have Mario Galaxy 1. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Okay. But but my main point of contention here is that they basically forced me to buy this at a time where I wasn't ready to play it because they put a shelf life on it. Even though this is digitally available, it's only going to be available until March, and it's never going to drop in price. So, of course, I wanted to jump on it, but I wasn't in the mood for it. And so I wanted to have it when I was going to be in the mood for it, but I haven't been yet. And so even though I'm, slowly trudging my way through Super Mario 64, I think I have about 30 stars, so I'm only about halfway in or whatever. I just haven't really enjoyed it as much as I wanted to. And again, it's just because simply I wasn't in the mood and I was forced to spend $60 on it when I wasn't ready for it. So
I wish
to make this only worse for you, I'm pretty sure I just saw that it's on sale for $50 too.
Yeah,
I don't care. I mean, $10. Yeah, no, that's salt in the wound a little bit, but I'm already burnt. So
right. I wish I had remembered that Nintendo decided it was going to start vaulting stuff, because I would have made that my my biggest snafu, because that makes me angrier personally, because now they've got tomorrow, actually, the Fire Emblem, the original Fire Emblem, like, I don't know what you call it, re-release thing comes out tomorrow. I'm going to get that because it's like $6.
You're right.
And it's whatever. And I want to play that little piece of history, and I love Fire Emblem. And I'm not especially salty about this one. I wasn't necessarily, I don't know. Again, I'm not going to get into the weeds, but I would have definitely chosen that as my snafu. All right. What was the category again? Disappointing game. I have two as well. It was hard to pick between the two. One I actually played and beat was Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. I played that very early on in the year for my January JRPG-a-thon, which died in April.
I forgot
I remember thinking about this. I did. I was like, God damn it, man. Come on, play near.
I'm taking it back. Sorry. I want to retract what I said about biggest company snafu. Biggest company snafu, never free to play, is Karch's JRPG-a-thon. He said he was going to beat Colin Moriarty, and he probably tied him.
No, I beat him.
I
beat him.
I remember in general when he was like, I'm going to play one JRPG per month. And I was like, JRPGs take forever.
Okay, we're going to get to this. The reason I didn't finish wasn't because they take too long. Anyway, so I played Ni no Kuni: Wrath of the White Witch. That game came out forever ago, but it was on sale, like a post-Christmas kind of situation. So well talked about. And it's, Studio Ghibli worked with them and did a lot of the art and stuff. And like, it is a very charming game. It is not a bad game by any stretch. But it was just disappointing. It's a slog. The combat is terrible. The combat is just bad. I will say that. But it's too long. It overstays its welcome. But at the same time, it is so unbelievably charming, and the characters are great, and the voice acting as well. Mr. Drippy is one of the best little sidekick characters of all time. But overall, just a really kind of like, wow, for all the fame that this game has, like, it literally was just based on the art style. Like, people just put the blinders up hard for that Miyazaki kind of stuff. And then the other one, which bookended the JRPG-a-thon, was the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. This was a bit of a shame on me situation, because I had attempted to play it originally on the Wii, and I just didn't, because I just didn't. I was emulating it, and I only got an hour in and I never came back to it. I hated the second one for a lot of different reasons that I didn't think were just the combat. Turns out it was a lot the combat, because their combat is very similar across both of them. It's also very different, but it has this gross, slow, plodding MMO style to it that, like, everyone kept saying, oh, it gets better. It gets better. It doesn't get better. And the game's too long. It's not a bad story. The characters aren't bad. The voice acting's good. But the combat is just not fun for a JRPG, in my opinion. Enemies are too spongy. Random encounters shouldn't take 5 minutes. They should be like, and then boom, it's over. It's like, and then you're on to the next one, and you're on to the next one, and you're on to the next one. Or you can skip them, one of the two. And you couldn't do that in either. You couldn't do either of those things in this. And then that put me off from doing this little JRPG-a-thon. And so then I was just kind of done. Anyway,
that's
any more digs at my JRPG-a-thon before we move on?
Play Nier Automata.
We have the rest of our lives.
That was a good dig. All right, next up is Best New IP, standing for Intellectual Property.
So I realized doing all these categories that I've played primarily indie games this year.
Mm-hmm.
And like the beauty of an indie game is they tend to be pretty good one-offs. And so there's a lot of indie games I like, but there's like, to me, Best New IP is also the like game that I want to continue to see develop into a series.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the beauty of an indie is a lot of times they don't need to do that. So I don't have anything that I actually want to state here. So yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Jason?
I mean, for 2020, in terms of releases, I don't see how you could not go Ghost of Tsushima. And I didn't play a ton of it, but I think what I did play showed a lot of promise. If I had more time in my life, I would have loved to go and finish this game because I did like and enjoy what I played with of it, but I don't know. I guess it was a timing thing of what the other things I had going on at the time. It was pretty close to The Last of Us in terms of release.
I was about to say.
And I don't think I had quite finished The Last of Us when Ghost of Tsushima came out. And then all of a sudden we were in the fall. So a little bit unfair to that game, but I do think it deserves note. And I think for me, this is where that is.
Good answer. I almost picked that too. I almost picked that too. And even though it's hard to say which one of these two I like more. I want to say the one I'm about to say I liked more. But I didn't think about it the way that Sean said, where like it's something I want to see more of. I don't want to go back to Ghost of Tsushima. I don't want to go back to Japan. I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Jin Sakai again. I'm done. That was a fun little story of a little piece of history. Like there is no room for a sequel. Spoilers, it's just the way the game ends. It's not like you can't just spin up a sequel out of nowhere. You could probably do something similar in a slightly different time period, but it is a kind of a standalone thing. So I chose Bug Fables because that was a really enjoyable game. After it was a bit of a rocky start, some hiccups in the middle, and I didn't love the way it ended, but it's a really solid game and it's a really fun game. If you have that hankering for that Paper Mario style turn-based combat, it's really good. I would love to see a sequel. I would absolutely play a sequel. So mine goes to Bug Fables.
Yeah, I mean, and with everything like I've heard about kind of the gap that the old Paper Marios have left as far as style of games, it sounds like Bug Fables has the option to continue to fill that too. So,
yep, very just like so ambitious for an indie company to come out and basically just make a spiritual sequel to The Thousand Year Door, because it is in every way, in every single way, and without like leaning too hard on the what's the word I'm looking for, the strategies that those games have employed in the past. Like the combat is ripped straight out of it, and it's even in a paper style, even though it literally has nothing to do with the game. It's about bugs, not paper. But
you kill bugs with paper towels.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Anyway, next
is
topic
the sequel to Bug Fables not Bug Snacks? I thought that was a spiritual, like a sequel, like a direct sequel.
Maybe it is. Bug Snacks.
That's a theory.
It's a theory.
Sean, you're out of the podcast. Get out of here.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll see myself out.
I mean, I don't want to celebrate your failure, but you said at the beginning you were trying to take my spot. So
it's true. It's true.
No, I did this to myself. I accept my punishment. So fair enough.
It's been great, gents.
I wish you all well.
Next category is best music.
So I think this game for me, this is definitely one that I played in 2020, although I think I started in 2019 and finished in 2020. Moonlighter.
Good. Yeah.
And the biggest thing that struck me on that was in Moonlighter, you had that like when you were in your shop kind of like setting up, and then when you open the shop, it was like the same theme, but like when you were setting up the shop, it was like the soft notes were more like, or like certain instruments and notes were up forward and different notes were behind, and that would swap. And like that game had, and so like it was such a great kind of dynamic, and that game had music kind of like that throughout. And so when it comes to a game that made me pause and be like, oh man, that music like really struck a chord with me, I can't think of anything better than kind of the running the shop in Moonlighter.
Very nice. Jason.
Okay, this is where I struggled. When we discussed this list of categories, we said we were going to try not to duplicate games for the different categories. Try, right? Fine. So I did try, and I think for me, I picked all of my favorite games and I tried to give them each a category. So for this one, like surprisingly, and you both might disagree, but I actually picked The Last of Us Part 2. And the reason, like, one of the things that sparked me even to think about the music in this game was one of the songs Joel plays for Ellie on that guitar is a Pearl Jam song called Future Days. And some of the fans had said, wait a minute, in the Last of Us universe, the release date of that song is actually post-apocalypse, post-event.
That's funny.
But then Neil
That's
Druckmann
interesting.
came back and said, no, actually, he did a private set that was posted to YouTube where Eddie Vedder released this song. And so even in the universe, if Joel were to have seen this song on YouTube, it actually makes sense. Which just like put into my mind that they put so much thought into the way the music plays into this game. And so I know traditionally you're thinking of like memorable soundtrack and that sort of thing. But I think in this particular game, what the music adds to the emotion and the texture and conveying the narrative, I think is invaluable. And so to me, I think in terms of like sound design, in terms of everything that you would think about for sound and music, I think The Last of Us did it really well.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't played the Last of Us games yet. Yet being the key word I'm hoping to hold there, but everything I understand is they're very tone, like they have very established tones and they're very tone heavy. So it does not shock me at all that, because a big way you do that is music. So I have no doubt they have fantastic music to them.
It's a good answer. I like the way that you used it to springboard off of just again another way to reiterate how well thought out every aspect of the game is, and not just any one. Mine is more music oriented, and it's Ori and the Will of the Wisps.
I gotta play
just
that.
a beautiful soundtrack, just beautiful. Like, you know, if nobody here's played Hollow Knight for more than 2 seconds,
I played it for 12 hours, Karch.
but could you remember any of the songs?
Nope.
No, the music in Hollow Knight is absolutely necessary, and it's really, really good. And the music in The Messenger is absolutely necessary, and it's really, really good. That it be the way that it is, and it fits so well with the game and the gameplay and the setting and the scenarios. And the same is true for Ori and the Will of the Wisps. It just it's a visually stunning game that would just be so much worse if it didn't have, you know, audibly stunning music. Like it evokes emotions you didn't even know you could have. Not that's not the right way to put it. Like, it tells you how to feel in the best ways, I guess. Like, it pulls those emotions along and props everything up just so well, and in combination with the sound design, it just everything meshes so well, and a lot of that has to do with the music. And it's just great.
That's music at its best, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, everyone knows the fact that, like, you know, music is very linked to emotion and memories, and so you know, the best to me, like the best scenes in cinema or video game always have some of the best music of cinema or video games.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, and for me, at least, when I think about this, like I do certainly appreciate like the memorable songs, but when music, this is going to sound weird, but when it can almost be forgettable, but you remember the emotion you felt in that moment, I feel like that's another indicator that the music's doing its job.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And some of that's, you know, some of this music existed already, so they had a chance to reiterate on it. And the main theme is still there, but it just walking through a forest, you know, that's decaying slowly, and, you know, with very little hope of surviving as you try to do that very thing. It's beautiful. It's great. Makes those emotional moments all the more moving too. All right. Next up we have Best Multiplayer. Not really my category.
Best multiplayer for me is one of my favorite games of the generation. It's Astroneer.
Nice.
Because
I
I
just
got
did
to
one.
play it with you guys.
Oh,
got
cool.
to suffocate on Silva with you guys, and just to me, it's yeah. There's that aspect of like, oh, this is multiplayer because it's a Destiny or whatnot style game, and you're working together on raids and whatnot. But there's also just the beauty of the multiplayer where it brings you together and it gives you something to do while you're also playing an enjoyable video game. And Astroneer is perfect for that. It's it's enough of a game to be an engaging game, but it's also not so much of a game that you can't enjoy catching up with some of your best buds while you're playing it.
Definitely.
That's what I absolutely loved about this title, because for me, I was between Far Cry 5, which was really more of a 2019 game for me, This game and then Sea of Thieves was the other. And even though we only played this particular one once with each other, it left such an impression on me because I could tell the story of what we did. And it's incredible. Like it's memorable. And I'll always remember that in my gaming memories. And I definitely want to get back to it. But like I had never been one to enjoy those like Minecraft type titles where there's really no set goal. But like this game gave that to me and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I didn't think about Astroneer for some reason. And I'm not going to necessarily say that's my answer, but I, mimic all those sentiments, obviously, because I was there. Apparently killing everybody. I don't know if that's accurate, but
just me.
Just you. Right. Sorry. But the answer I had come up ahead of time was Magic the Gathering Arena. That is just the most recent online client developed for Magic the Gathering. And this card game is phenomenal. Played Hearthstone for years. Back when it came out, got tired of it. A guy at work said, "Hey, I'm going to be playing this," and I was like, "All right, I'll jump on, download it." And here I am, 6, 7, 9 months later, still playing it. This is definitely another quarantine game for me that I've just kind of found time. I can't wait till it comes on phones because I am starting to wane on it a bit. And if it doesn't come on the phones, I might stop playing soon because I'm just kind of getting tired of having to. It's starting to feel like a chore. So, but it's great. It's multiplayer because I'm technically playing against other people, but it's still a single player experience because I'm not playing with anybody. Like you guys aren't there, not like an Astroneer and whatnot. And unfortunately, Jason and I started a podcast, so we don't have had much time to play video games together.
We got to fix that. We're going to stop the podcast for 2021 and then we'll redo it in 2022 so we can talk about all the things we did in 2021.
Biannual. Every other year. Right.
Breaking my heart.
Breaking. Well, we've got the multiplayer of D&D has been, there you go. Best multiplayer, Dungeons and Dragons to be a role.
It really is.
Such a high quality story your DMs put together.
Oh yeah. And we're helping. We're not hindering at all.
No, it's been great.
Next category is the best version of Final Fantasy IX. I'm going to start with this one, and I'm going to say the best version of Final Fantasy IX is Final Fantasy IX.
I disagree, Karch. I'm going to say for me, my favorite version of Final Fantasy IX is actually the original Final Fantasy VII, not the remake, but Final Fantasy VII.
That's right. You did play that this year.
I
so
did,
hopeful because you actually did. You got 3 whole episodes in. I was like, oh, he's gonna do it.
I'm going to get back to it. I just haven't been home in months.
Jason, just always remember that I beat Final Fantasy VII before Karch.
He did.
I will always remember that.
This was before I was necessarily like the Final Fantasy guy, but he did it, and I was a little salty about it.
My best version of Final Fantasy IX is the watching Karch beat Final Fantasy IX.
Which I will get back to.
It's a good answer.
I promise.
It's very enjoyable. You do great voice acting.
I'm going to have to rewatch those episodes to find the voices again because I honestly can't remember what I was doing. And now I've been watching that stream I mentioned, and I'm going to accidentally use them if I'm not careful. And I don't want to do that. So
that's fine. I can adjust. It's okay.
Okay. Well, all right.
I will not stand for it.
Next category: best B-roll for your B-hole.
I gotta say, the original B-roll B-hole. I mean, come on.
That's a pretty good one.
I enjoyed turning to the B-roll where I got fired and told that I was not going to be able to come back.
Yes.
That was a good one.
I'd be so convinced.
Right.
Well,
Sean had done some things.
But I didn't do anything wrong.
That you know of.
Yeah.
I couldn't think of one. Even though I came up with this topic, I couldn't think of one.
I have one that I don't know if I'm allowed to say, so I'm not going to say it.
Oh, okay.
You know
why wouldn't you be allowed to say it if we said it in the B-roll?
I don't remember if we used it for the B-roll.
Do it anyway.
Okay, well, it has to do with the Beach Boys.
We did not use it for B-roll, unfortunately.
Okay, I won't talk about it.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. My favorite other thing that we didn't use for the B-roll is Hilary Swank versus Jennifer Garner.
which made your description for that episode.
I don't understand. I didn't edit it, and so I couldn't tell you why, Sean. Even Greg commented on how funny that conversation was, but
I was
our
so
editor
confused.
just cut it out.
I don't know what happened. It was long and clunky, and it was just a long diatribe about it. I'll find it and I'll put it. Like I said, I was going to make an whole episode out of it. And I went to do that, and then when I realized I had already cut it out, and I wasn't about to re-upload the original raw, like Greg edited it, so I was like, I'm not doing that.
That whole thing.
I still got it, so we can do it sometime. And yes, I did add it in the description because then we had talked about it in D&D or something, and I was like, it was like fresh on my brain. I do love the B-roll where I'm not there. The only episode I haven't been there was episode 3, and I'm actually going to be missing for episode 41 as well. I'll be out of town in the same place that I was out for episode 3. Anyway,
am I doing that episode?
You can.
Greg's already on.
Greg's on it, but you are so welcome to join it.
More than welcome.
Yeah, if you guys want me, I'll be free.
So yeah, that's not next week, but the week after, if you want to plan for that. But no, the one where Greg's on and Jason's just like, it's several takes of him trying to start. He's like, wake up, everybody.
Yes.
Greg's like, too loud. He's like, I'm starting to see that Karch is very important to make sure this podcast works or something like that.
I remember that was before we were doing a video. I loved that.
Yeah, that was a good one. All right. Best combat. So basically, this is pretty much best gameplay, like moment to moment gameplay.
So there were a couple games I wanted to pick for this. One got picked for a category that we'll see later on that, and therefore I didn't want to repeat. But when I got underway with my cutter back during the spring, I downloaded Bastion. And I really enjoyed Bastion. And the wealth of different weapons you could choose and the special abilities and all that. So Bastion is actually my pick for best combat.
You're the indie.
Yeah, I'm really indie heavy. In fact, I'm entirely indie, I think, for all of my categories.
Bastion's a great game. I regret playing it on a mouse and keyboard though, because I didn't have a controller that would go into my computer at the time, and it hurt my hand. But I did.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got that on the Switch, and I beat it over the course of that patrol. Between that and playing Stardew Valley, which, as we have established before, is my patrol mainstay, I beat Bastion twice on that patrol. Like I had a lot of fun playing Bastion. I found it a very enjoyable game. It's a short game, but there's you can pick 2 weapons per level, and there's there's something like 8 or 10 weapons I think you can choose from. Yeah, and they've all kind of got a unique play style. The big one that I really enjoyed was the revolvers. And obviously Bastion's got a lot of relations to Hades, but like the revolvers to me were something that I greatly enjoyed. That were and to me, at least at their base level, obviously Hades has all the boons, but at their base level, the weapons of Bastion were more enjoyable than the weapons of Hades.
Right. Yeah, they had to be because you didn't upgrade them quite the same. But
yeah, exactly.
The extra challenges for those were really fun.
I mean, Hades' weapons got interesting because of the hammers and the boons and all that. But Bastion's weapons were a little more straightforward. But they were a lot of fun. Bastion was great.
Cool. Jason, best combat gameplay.
So I had a similar. There were a lot of games that I wanted to put in this category because I'm very much like a mechanics focused gamer. Like, the point of the game to me is for it to be fun, and for it to be fun for me, it's what are the mechanics? How do you play it? Do you have fun playing it? So like I thought about putting The Last of Us 2 here, but I didn't. I put Baldur's Gate 3 here. And the reason I did that is because it helped teach me what I felt like were the gaps in my D&D knowledge. Now, obviously, I didn't shore them all up. I am not a D&D expert. But seeing like a video game version of Dungeons and Dragons kind of made it more real to me. And I feel like I've gotten better at D&D because of Baldur's Gate. And it's just been really fun. It's like a better version of chess in a way. It's like a more complex version of chess. And
100%.
I don't know what else to say about it. I love turn-based. It's interesting because I have not played a lot of turn-based games that aren't grid-based, but you are limited in your movement. And so in a way, it's kind of an evolution for me, at least as a gamer on turn-based, grid-based, which I love those types of games. And I love the strategy of those types of games. And I love, you have to make your party and you have to be very conscious of who you're putting in your party. And you may like certain characters for their narrative backgrounds, but they may not be the best party members for the encounter you're going into. And you have to make those decisions. And then once you're in the combat, you have to decide how you're going to use your party members. And you may have a healer who's got a decent melee attack, but you don't want to necessarily get him too close to the encounter because you need him to stand back and heal. You've all these little intricacies that you have to think about when you're going into these encounters. I love Baldur's Gate. I love it. And I can't wait to see what they've done with patch 3, because it seems like they've made some adjustments to, like you and I talked about, cantrips and that sort of thing. So I'm really excited to continue to see how this game evolves, and I'm really loving it so far.
I'm beyond excited how excited you are for that game. Like, it's awesome.
I'm just like, as someone who has spent over 2/3 of his life playing Dungeons and Dragons, to hear you talk like fluently and confidently about like cantrips and other aspects of the game just makes me so happy. Like,
that's cool. Well, that's like, what I love about it.
I love D&D. And I've played a lot of different. I've played of the 5 editions of Dungeons and Dragons. I've played 4 of them. To hear you like excited about playing Dungeons and Dragons just warms my nerd heart.
Dude, I dig it.
All right. I'm going to put this here because I want to talk about this game. It deserves the mention, and it's mostly true. And that's Final Fantasy VII Remake. This is just really good combat overall. Like, it's just a really fun game to play. It was inspired, though, the way that they were able to translate and meld the world of turn-based and the action combat that people had come to love from the original, but then the modern world was not going to put up with that. That was never going to happen, unfortunately. In a perfect world, there is still a turn-based version of this remake where that's really the only difference. Like, you get into combat and everything's still turn-based. Maybe it's a little dynamic somehow. Like, obviously, you wouldn't, like, the screen doesn't change. You don't go into a separate area or whatever, but it's just so fluid. It can be really frustrating at times. There are certain enemies that just don't mesh with that combat. Like, anything aerial is stupid. And hopefully they fix that. But magic is good. Melee combos and attacks are good. The way that you bounce between party members. And I can't wait to play this game again, because I didn't really, really grasp how you were supposed to do that until like the near end. I would spend too much time trying to play it kind of like Final Fantasy 12 or kind of like Dragon's Age Inquisition Origins, where you have they have these gambits, these AI patterns that you can give your party members. No such thing exists, because they're expecting you to like just is your ability meter charged? Boom, hop over to Barrett, fire off that gun, hop over to Tifa, throw that punch, and just kind of cycle like you would in a turn-based game. But it just, because of the action and the way I had played things like Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15 before it just felt awkward to try and play exactly that way all the time. Either way, or regardless, it's still just so much fun. And I can't wait for the sequel, obviously. And I really do want to go back and play this game again sometime, in the near future.
I was hoping you would say this. I didn't know where you were going to talk about it, but I think
cool.
I think combat is the biggest change to this title. Well, I don't know if that's fair to say, but it's definitely one of the biggest changes to this title.
It is, and it isn't. It's hard to say.
Playing the original and then having played the demo of this, and to see the changes that they've made and how significant and amazing they are, it makes me want to finish out my original playthrough and then go back and play this on the PS4.
Definitely worth it. And then like just an honorable mention, Ghost of Tsushima's combat was really good too. It's the reason like I like the story fine enough, I like the world fine enough, but they were not the strengths of that game. The strength of that game was its combat. Being a samurai / ninja never felt so good. Never. It's really, really fun to do standoffs and turn the little quick time event into the full. It's a lot of fun. It's fun to level up. It's just like that loop was really satisfying. So honorable mention to Ghost of Tsushima. All right. Here's a tricky one for me. Best environment.
So this is tough for me because it's actually one of my most disappointing games, but Windbound. I loved there's a lot of parts of that game I loved, and in particular like the islands and the beauty of them, and then obviously coming from my nautical background, like sailing in that game was very enjoyable, and it was pretty, and the music was great, and the mechanics were that nice blend of like, yeah, this makes sense to reality, but simple enough for a video game. That was a very pretty cel shaded game. Despite all the other, the flaws I talked about earlier. So that's of all the games I played in 2020, that was the game that I enjoyed the most, kind of wandering around in.
Cool. Yeah, it was a pretty, and the music was simple. There weren't a lot of tracks.
But same way with Breath of the Wild though, kind of they benefited the environment.
Yes, absolutely. And it was pretty, even again, for all that it was, which was not necessarily a lot at all times, it was nice to look at and listen to, and it just had a lot of problems.
Yeah.
It stinks when the technical problems make a good game bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I've talked about this before. I mean, on prior podcasts. I mean, if that game hadn't destroyed all of my item collections in the last chapter, I would view that game much more highly than I do now.
Jason.
Okay, so for me, it is hard not to give this category to Half-Life Alyx. Because how do you get more immersive than a full-out Half-Life game in VR? I loved everything about that game. I need to go back and beat it. The only reason I didn't is because I got to a part that was so hard that I just couldn't get past it. And I guess I didn't even think about dropping the difficulty down. But at any rate, it doesn't matter because I loved that game. I loved everything about the game. I love this. The story I think was serviceable. But I think the thing that stuck out is obviously the environment, because it's so unique. You don't get immersed in a game the same way, like a flat experience versus a VR experience. You just don't. So I got to give it to that. The eeriness, just everything explorable. It's hard to describe because it's like in your mind's eye when you think about games where you do this type of exploration, it's almost like you remember it in first person, but then to experience it, to go into a room and to be like, oh, there's probably something in that cabinet. Put your hand on the drawer, open the door, look in there. Oh yeah, totally. Pick it up, put it on your inventory belt or whatever. You just don't get that.
Cool. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, one of the things I'm very excited for once COVID and all the other complications that we have going on with this year. The fact that you have VR capability, and it's something I've never really gotten to do, at least in the at home sense. I can't wait to experience some of that, because the potential it has to elevate games, at least in some regards, is so big, and I really do want to experience it. And I think Half-Life Alyx 100% epitomizes that. For sure.
And Sean, I have VR Skyrim.
He does.
If you give me if you give me VR Skyrim, I'm gonna be like those people in Inception where the guys like they come to wake up. Like that's gonna be me with Skyrim. Like you cannot let me play VR Skyrim.
Oh, I'm gonna be. I'm telling you, I'm gonna bring my desktop. I'm gonna bring my Oculus. It's Sean and Robert is driving north. Aaron and I are driving south, and we are coming to your house post-COVID.
No. I say no to this. You will not give him Skyrim in VR.
Well, you could fight me about it in person.
Yeah. No, I mean, Sean, there's nothing like it. I don't love it. It's not for me. At least in the iterations that I've used so far. Funnily enough, the longest time I played anything in VR was probably Skyrim. But yeah.
Oh, 30
there's nothing
seconds.
like it. I know. We played it like 2 whole nights.
Okay. Okay.
We didn't get very far. I don't even think we fought the dragon, but
Yeah.
what is he doing?
He's
already
doing
gone.
Skyrim.
He's lost. He's in Tamriel.
Skyrim
It's
chanting.
done. It's done.
Dovahkiin.
All right.
Mercy,
Best
no
environment for
Svalbard.
me. This one's going to Last of Us 2.
Yes.
They brought the world to life, and it's our world. They brought that, post-apocalypse. But Seattle's never looked more like Seattle. Not that I've ever been there, but this the rooftops, the hotel descending, even minus the terrible boss in it, the hospital, the island that you go to, the boats at the end, like everything is so meticulous and perfectly placed. Like just the level design itself is very, very good, but just on paper, those things can sound dull, but then they really, and obviously like traipsing across, scaffolding on the tops of long abandoned skyscrapers is not dull, but just going around downtown Seattle and poking your head inside a coffee shop could be, but it wasn't. And there's lots of scenery changes, way more, snow in the beginning, snow, with a snowstorm and a blizzard, and then, springtime, and then like a more sunny fall-ish experience in, the West Coast in California. And it's really good. Really great environments that, definitely just make that game a really fun experience in addition to its story and gameplay.
For sure. For a game that got so much right, I don't know, like, I guess this is a little bit of a spoiler for one of our last topics, but I did not put this as my game of the year, even though it got so many things correct. It got so many things so right. But I don't know. And when you look at it holistically as a total package, I think there was something about it that didn't feel like, it almost felt more like an art piece than a video game. And for that reason, I wanted to play it, but the 25 hours I spent on that felt so much longer and more arduous than any game that I've played in recent memory. It was like a chore to finish it, but I wanted to see it through. But I can't say that it was the most fun game experience. I mean, it was an experience for sure, but it's certainly, I don't think fun is a word that I would necessarily use. It's like watching Schindler's List a little bit. I know that we've somebody's made that comparison and they got called out for it, but it truly is. It's like that.
No, that was a little different than your comparison, but I remember what you're talking about.
Right. Well, I'm just like, you wouldn't say watching Schindler's List is fun.
Right. What they were saying is like,
no, but they were comparing it's a worthwhile experience.
Yeah.
Right.
One you should do if you consider yourself a fan of the genre beyond the shooty, clicky.
Yeah.
But do play for the shooty, clicky.
Right.
All right. Next category before the final game of the year category is best update / expansion. These are for your ongoing games like your Destinies, or maybe there was just, some just really huge DLC or something like that. So, Sean, go ahead.
Stardew Valley marriage update 1.4.
What did they do in that specifically?
So they added post-marriage events. They added all the fish spawns, which was a lot of fun. But they added a lot more kind of like story and interaction, events where your character interacted with all with the various people throughout the village. And so cool. it added so much more kind of depth and storytelling and background to that game that already had a lot of that, but it was right. It's the largest update that Stardew Valley had up to that point. I hear 1.5 I think will be comparable. Mm-hmm. But it added so much more for you to experience in that game that for a lot of people and myself included, I started to play through. It made I need to go back and I experienced a lot of this on my old well-developed playthrough, but it's worth starting the game over again entirely just to see all the things it's added.
Cool. Jason.
This is just not my type of game. Like, if there were major updates to the games that I played, then I'm not aware of them. I don't have anything for this category.
Yeah, I don't really either because, again, I just don't play games that get updated. I'll throw a quick shout out to Final Fantasy IX's very well-made and most popular mod called the Moguri mod. And amongst many different small quality of life things.
Can I include modded games? Because then I'm just going to talk about Skyrim for the rest of the podcast.
You may not.
No, you're banned from talking about.
You may not.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind.
The Moguri mod is an amazing piece of work done by presumably just one dude over the last few years. This is not a new mod by any stretch, but it was new to me, and I started playing it on the Let's Play that I was doing, and it really does breathe some life into the game visually. I love, for what it's worth, I actually probably prefer the original crappy PS1 version because it's nostalgic, and there's something nice about appreciating what that game was at that time visually.
Yeah,
we already decided the best version of Final Fantasy IX is Final Fantasy VII.
You're right. My bad. I'll stop talking. I had a joke answer for this. I already forgot what it was. What was it? Oh, no, it wasn't a joke answer. I had a sort of real. There was DLC for Kingdom Hearts 3 that dropped at the very beginning of this year. And it wasn't great, but it definitely did fill some holes narratively that were like ice on the wound a little bit. Like,
There was also that major, sorry, not to cut you off. There was also a major update to Ghost of Tsushima, which people praised.
They did. I still haven't played it. Still haven't touched it. Robert said he was going to play it with me, but then we never talked about it.
He's a liar.
Robert's a liar. All right, so we'll skip that one and go, well, not skip it, but we're done with it. And we'll go into our game of the year.
Everybody say it on 3.
All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Stardew Valley.
Shut up, Karch.
No, it's the best game of the year.
I changed my option. Stardew Valley.
You guys are banned from the podcast.
Valley, No, it's definitely Hades, without a doubt. Man, what a game. Technically, could have taken so many of these categories. Big surprise, new IP, music, not multiplayer. Combat, environment. I mean, it's not perfect in necessarily any of these, but it has a package. It excels and exceeds expectations like no other game I've played in a long time, really, but certainly with this year. Oof, what a great game.
And that's like, I commented earlier that like, this has been the year for the indie, and part of the reason for that is like indie games. It's probably been this way for a few years, but like there's like beyond the HD graphics, there's not a big difference between indie games and AAA games now. Like,
right,
Hades is a game that is better than a lot of AAA games, and because it's just how far gaming has come and how well people are able to build this stuff nowadays.
I think to kind of like expand on that, I feel like AAA is so much more subject to scope creep, and I think it sometimes can result in an inferior product. And I think what indie games, the good indie games, what we'll call AAA, what they do well is say, we're going to do this one thing and we're going to knock it out of the park.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
There's no pressure to monetize either, which I don't care what anybody says. I think is this constant, ever-present beast that's just like threatening to swallow up a project like Avengers. Clearly just put the wrong foot forward when it came to that. And who knows? I mean, it could be a million other things, but that game shouldn't be as bad as it is. That game should be all anybody, including myself, is talking about. That game should have pulled me in to the games as a service genre, and it didn't. And the only game that ever could have would have been, barring some random IP no one's would have ever expected. But like the fact that game sucks so bad. And like for so many reasons, but a huge part of it is like you just look at it, it's like, oh, it's because all you want is the money. The money will come if the game is good, and obviously the IP is strong and it looks, but it sucks.
It's the boat that I think BioWare struggles with, and why going back to early in the podcast, why we're seeing believe BioWare has prided itself on single player games. Single player games are not they're supposed to be have the experience, might have some DLC,
Yep.
But they're not supposed to be continuously monetized, and their corporate overlords are don't understand that, and those games are struggling.
Yep.
That's what I respect strongly about games like The Last of Us Part 2 and like God of War.
And Sony came out with the last day or two and commented the fact that essentially released figures on the amount of time spent playing single player games versus multiplayer games on their consoles, and the argument was the single player game is still very much alive. That's actually what a lot of people are spending their time playing.
Absolutely.
It's almost like I never heard this argument stated, but it's almost like Sony views those games as a loss leader for their hardware sales. But then they open up the door, when you're playing these multi-platform games that are heavy on the monetization, they're getting 30% of that. So not only are they selling 10 to 15 million copies of their first-party games, which they get all of that, they're selling the hardware, they get all of that. Anything you buy digitally on their store, they're getting all of that. And then any of the microtransactions, they're getting, well, I shouldn't say all of what they buy on the store, but 30%, and then the microtransactions, 30%. So I do believe that Sony views their first party titles where they're giving their developers free reign to do what they want to do, and not subject to this monetization pressure. That is Sony's rotisserie chicken,
Not to get too off topic though, Hades is none of those things and still excelled in both our hearts and the hearts of, everybody. It's amazing. They only put this game on the Switch and of course PC, where it was in early access for over a year. I think it was announced in 2018, like tail end of 2018. So it pretty much had a little over like a year and a half to get itself together. And, it seems to have worked for its benefit, and even though it was only on Epic Games, and I just remember seeing this game. I was like, wow, I love Supergiant. I respect what they create. I liked Pyre a lot. I wish Pyre was on my Switch because I'm never going to play it on my PS4, but they already said it's not coming to Switch. Anyway, Supergiant, no, right? Supergiant?
Yeah.
Okay. Supergiant Games is, they're very good at what they do. They have a very clear vision and they execute it well. Like you guys already said, is the benefit of having that, smaller team and that smaller focus. It's just so good. It's so good.
It's just so good. We've talked it to death. I don't know what more we could say about it, but
there isn't much more other than congratulations, Hades. Congratulations.
All 4 people who listen to this podcast have bought this game.
That's right. That's right.
Well deserved to Hades. Like that game deserves it in every sense.
Mm-hmm. Never gonna play it again though. It's like it sucks.
I honestly think I think I'm 1 or 2 getting out of the underworld to actually get the rolled credits ending. So I should probably go get that at some point.
I would. It's not like earth shattering by any means, but it is a nice little bow, and the ending song and the ending credits, and not post credits, but the credit sequence is very nice. And I think, like I said, I just think, and then the way it introduces to well, what now? Why would I keep playing this game? Again, it's nothing revelatory, and it's only just like a 2-second scene really that explains why are you going to keep playing this game? Why are you going to keep trying to escape from Hades after the game is supposedly quote unquote over? It's just very clever and cute. So
yeah, I'll give it a go. It might be after I beat or after I finish Stuck Up, but there's never a point playing that game where I did not have fun. And maybe that's a big reason it's my game of the year is I never didn't have fun playing Hades. It was
Anybody
always a blast.
What's one bad thing you can say about it?
Nothing,
I got
dude.
One. No, I got one.
You got one?
I don't like the enemies' designs. I find them to be very dull and not Greek inspired.
Well,
Except for the
enemy
bosses.
variety and enemy design is Karch's go-to when he's trying to criticize really, really good games.
Shut up. It's very important, and I wouldn't say it if it didn't matter to me.
I would go with, for me, as somebody who's not going to pour just like hours and hours. Like I played this game a pretty fair amount, but I would say that I wish that I had better availability for like Titan Blood to upgrade the weapons. just to get a little more powerful and help me through those later runs.
God mode, man.
Yeah,
So
I know that's an option. I'm just saying I just wish that there was a better way to do that, an easier way to do that didn't involve just like turning on easy mode.
Well, it's not easy mode per se. It's just an easier mode over time. It's not like an actual God mode. It's like you get like a static defense bonus every time you die or something like that.
20% defense bonus, and every time you don't successfully escape, it goes up by 2%. So it basically makes it easier and easier to work your way towar's finishing the game.
I'm not
you can
doing
also
it.
at that point
you can't make me.
You can be riskier too. So I can make you do anything with the right words. I don't know. I'm actually not really good at convincing people to do stuff. Unless it's a bad decision.
My goal for the rest of 2020 is I want to get Sean, whether it's he and I both, the three of us, or just him by himself. I need him to remote into my computer to play a session of Baldur's Gate 3 so he can see it for himself.
We can do that. That's easy.
I would like to do that.
Yeah,
we got to figure out a good time to do that. But
tomorrow, done.
Boom, easy. Because I'd probably be packing up, but you know.
Yeah.
You and Sean can do
Sunday. All right, Jason, take us home. Thank you, Sean, for joining us.
Always.
Yes, thank you. Always a pleasure. All right, well, that is all we have for you guys today. Have a fantastic week, We will try, but we are never free to play. Well, my name's Karch, and I never touch anything on my thing, but magically stuff changes. I didn't know you could drive to Alaska.
Yeah, drive to Canada.
So dumb.